Good afternoon. Welcome to Cohn and Krueger. That's Larry Krueger. I'm Grant Cohn. 49ers just waxed another team yesterday. And the big news was Fred Warner and DK's fight, and then really what Trent Williams said after the game. That stole the headlines because he really came out in support of Brock Purdy. And it was, I haven't heard anyone associated with Brock speak that strongly for him. And essentially what Trent Williams said is, I'm tired of people downplaying what he does. He's not a system quarterback. Put on the film. If you know what you're looking at, you'll see, I don't know, he didn't use the word elite, but you'll see a really good quarterback. And if you don't see that, if all you see is a system quarterback, you don't know ball. And he said, well, first of all, he's also said that Brock doesn't get enough credit. The Niners are kind of obsessed with credit. I want to talk about credit first. Sure, obviously Brock Purdy isn't a system quarterback. He's way past that. He's an MVP kid. But this whole thing about the Niners wanting more credit. I mean, I get it, right? We all want credit, but is that what they need? To me, it's like, hey, go win the Super Bowl. Then we'll give you credit. What do you think about their need and desire for confirmation?
Well, I think he's pushing back on this dialogue that diminishes Brock in any way. And what he's really saying is this guy's so damn accurate that he throws it to a spot and his receivers make plays for him. He said he's just so accurate. You watch a lot of his throws. The accuracy gives them a chance to run after the catch, and I don't think he gets enough credit for that. So, I mean, we've seen it. I mean, the Niners have great run after the catch weapons. And when you do that, a lot of times people say, well, you throw it. I mean, you've heard it. You throw it short and the guy goes 88 yards. But in reality, the guy's throwing it to a spot, and he's oftentimes throwing it blindly to a spot, and he's hitting his spot on a regular basis. He's throwing it into tight windows, and he's throwing the 50-50 ball, Grant. He's throwing it sometimes into tight windows, and he's putting it right on his receiver's hands consistently. And when you watch it once, it looks accidental, and when you watch it every day, it's high level accuracy. And I think we're all confusing, or some people that are saying that he's a system guy are confusing high level accuracy that results in yards after the catch for his receivers as, he's a product of the system. And yet, that being said, Grant, everybody is a product of the offense they're in.
Joe Montana was a product of his system.
No doubt. I mean, Joe Montana freely admits that Jerry Rice did wonders for his late career. So, I mean, your weapons definitely help you. There's no question about that.
Look, I agree with Trent. And I've come around on Brock Purdy. He is a legit MVP candidate. He could win the award. What I take issue with is the way Trent Williams phrased it. And it's not that I have a problem with what he said. I think it revealed something about the Niners' motivation. He said it was a big win, another one. And Trent said, Brock doesn't get enough credit. Man, who cares? First of all, he's going to win the MVP award. So that's debatable. But second of all, who cares what the media says about your quarterback or you guys at week 14? Only thing that matters for you guys is winning the Super Bowl. Credit, you could get all the credit in the world. If you don't win the Super Bowl, you guys don't have any place in football history. I don't like this whole idea of credit. I feel like they've been on the hunt for credit since 2019, and they get it. Everyone says they're the best team in football. Everyone agrees they are the best team in football, but it doesn't matter unless they get the hardware. Right now, they're just the best team on credit. And I wish they would stop that mentality. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I do. I mean, it's like, hey, you're winning, and that's all that should matter. But you know the old saying, Grant, that
he's like in the meta conversation. He's like talking to Nick Wright or me or you.
Right. Well, you know what I think it is I really believe this too. I think that oftentimes teams take on the characteristics of their leaders. And I think there is a part of Brock Purdy, and I think Brock has become one of the leaders on that team as the quarterback. And I just think that Brock plays with a massive chip on his shoulder. And I think that some of that's rubbing off on on guys like Trent Williams that, you know what, he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. We're not being respected. It's the oldest thing in sports. They don't respect us. Whatever motivates you. You know what? The pro athletes, you know it and I know it. We've both been around it long enough to know. The seasons are long. It's hard to find motivation. And sometimes if they can find motivation by using a Grant Cohn, a Larry Krueger, a media, or just, in general, you know what? My quarterback's not getting respect. He ain't a system quarterback. They'll use whatever they can use. It's a long year. That's what I think.
It's fine. I get it. It just feels like the Niners should be past that. Fourth oldest team in the league. You've been on the doorstep of a championship since before the pandemic. Man, don't talk to me about credit. Everyone calls you guys the best roster in the league. Everyone calls you guys a juggernaut. You got credit. Brock's gonna win the MVP. He's got credit. Now win the Super Bowl, because credit doesn't matter. Credit is only matters on television and on YouTube. And if you're concerned about credit, you're concerned about the wrong thing. This team should have been a Super Bowl winner by now.
And what's the main reason they haven't been?
It's ridiculous they haven't won a championship by now. This team is way too good. And the idea that they could find a way to not win a Super Bowl this year is crazy. I mean, they have a new reason every year. There was an injury, there was a drop pick, there was this, there was that. It was Jimmy's fault.
I think the quarterback.
Sorry.
I mean, not to blame. I don't know. I'm hardwired in here. You might be a little laggy today.
Yeah, but it's probably me.
But all I would say is that I think the quarterback has had a lot to do with why the 49ers haven't won the Super Bowl to this point. And I think now they got the right quarterback, and we're going to see if they can get it done. They're in the driver's seat. As of this minute, they're the best team in the NFC, the number 1 seed, and all the other teams that seem to be in the running for this thing seem to have some major flaws. And as we go, these other teams' major flaws get even more major. So this is looking very, very good for the 49ers. But I think it has a lot to do with the fact they haven't had a quarterback. And you have to win in this league. You got to have a quarterback, and they haven't had that guy.
Yeah, I guess all I'm saying is we expect the Niners to win the Super Bowl. We expect Brock Purdy to win the MVP. He's like 2 months away from getting all the credit in the world. Be patient.
Right.
Be patient. Also, where are these Brock Purdy skeptics? I thought I was the last one. They don't exist anymore. We all saw what he did yesterday. He's great. He's really, 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 really ridiculously good. Got it. I don't think there are Brock Purdy skeptics anymore. And yeah, we all recognize that Kyle contributes and he's really good, and the weapons contribute and they're really good. But we all see what Brock does. No one's looking at Brock being like, he's a glorified Nick Mullins. Like, no, he's really good. Now, would he be an MVP candidate on every team? Probably not. But I mean, you could say that about most quarterbacks. Like Patrick Mahomes is kind of struggling on the Chiefs right now, and he's not bad. In fact, he's the greatest. Team matters.
No doubt. No doubt. I mean, look at Mahomes right now. You saw a very uncharacteristic Mahomes moment last night, complaining about an offsides call to Josh Allen. He's feeling the frustration. He's feeling the heat. I mean, the Chiefs are supposed to win home games against everybody in December. And here it is mid-December, and they're not. So, I talked about it last night on the post game. I asked the audience, how many quarterbacks in the league, if every GM in the league called John Lynch and said, we'll give you ours for yours, how many actual quarterbacks would you take for Brock? And I said Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, Joe Burrow. Burrow, Lamar, Allen, and Mahomes are the guys that I would absolutely take for Brock. Everybody else, I got to think about it. And I know there are people that are like, what about Hurts? What about Herbert? What about Lawrence? What about Hall of Famers like Rodgers and Russell and C.J. Stroud and Stafford? They're all good. They're all good quarterbacks. But the guys that I know that I would trade tomorrow for Brock for would be Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, and Joe Burrow. And even some of the people
is that because Brock's a good fit on this team? Like, what you get with him here? Or if you were if you were like an expansion franchise and building just sort of like a draft board, you would have Brock as your 5th rated quarterback, no matter what you had.
Well, I mean, it's difficult, right? Because
right?
Stroud has got a lot of talent, and like
Yeah.
Lawrence and Herbert are the physical prototypes. But yeah, based on if I was starting my own team, I would want Mahomes and Allen and Lamar and Burrow ahead of Brock, and everybody else I would take Brock over. And I know that's somewhat controversial. Now, some people would say, you know what? I'd rather have Herbert. I'd rather have Lawrence, or I'd rather have Stroud. And then other people would say, how could you possibly take Purdy over, Hall of Famers like Stafford and, Rodgers? But I mean, those guys are in their 30s and and I'm thinking of them in the present. I'm not thinking of a career achievement award. So, and I even mentioned
You think
Prescott.
Brock is objectively a better quarterback than Dak?
I think he's better than Dak. I think he throws with
That's what I was gonna ask,
anticipation
yeah.
better. I do. I do think he's better than Dak. Now, granted, we're seeing the Dak that we saw. He's been really, really good
Tough one.
for the last month. But the quarterback that we saw turned it over 3 times in the second half, and showed some flaws.
True. True. It's true. I'd like to. I know it doesn't matter, but I just would like to see Brock on any other team. What would Brock look like on Dallas with Mike McCarthy and who's the offensive coordinator over there?
Well,
Freaking Schottenheimer.
yeah, that's
Anyway,
right, Brian Schottenheimer.
Anyway, Brock Purdy having a great year. Does he need more? Does he need more credit? I don't know. Let's check out the Bet US. Hold on, let me get all the branding correct because it's important. Let's check out the odds right now. We got Brock Purdy's odds his odds went up. He's plus 200, but he's not the favorite anymore. Dak Prescott's the favorite to win an award at plus 150. Brock Purdy's at plus 200. And then Lamar's at plus 6. So this is a two-man race at this point. Forget CJ Stroud. It comes down to Dak Prescott and Brock Purdy. Who do you think's going to win this award? And keep in mind, Cowboys have way too much influence on this league.
I know. I mean, it's like Prescott has had.
What do you think, Larry?
I think Prescott's had one of the best statistical years. I mean, look at his year. I mean, look at what he's done. He's really, really good. I would give it to Purdy. 28 touchdowns and 6 picks though for Dak. He's driving an explosive car for sure. There's no question. He's having a really good year. He's running more. He's turning the ball over less. I think Dak's a really good quarterback. I like him. I'd give it to Purdy. Now I'm biased. I just think, the Niners have the.
Why are you biased?
Well, I'm biased because I've seen them play head to head, and Brock lit him up, and Dak struggled. Now the Niners defense is better than Dallas's defense. So how would Brock play against the Niners defense?
Better than Dallas's play caller.
Right. I'm not as big a fan of Dak Prescott, though I've loved his bounce back year. But I mean, yeah. and also, I also think when you look at Dallas, Grant, I think Dallas is a classic bully team. I mean, if you look at their schedule, I mean, Philly's one of the best teams they've beaten. They beat the Giants, the Jets, the Patriots. They got a really close win against the Chargers. They beat the Rams, the Giants, the Panthers, the Commanders. They had a really close win against the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, you could make an argument, Grant, that last night against the Eagles was their only win really all year against a really good team.
Who have the Niners beaten?
Well, they beat Dallas and Philly,
okay.
And they beat Philly and Philly.
Yeah. Look. I'm not saying Dallas is better than the Niners. I'm saying the Niners are better than Dallas, and I feel like Brock Purdy, like Dak's job is harder. He's got Mike McCarthy and Brian Schottenheimer. He's got who's his tight end? Like, he doesn't have
Ferguson,
the team that Brock Purdy has, and the fact that they have comparable numbers, to me, it was the LeBron argument. LeBron won those MVPs a lot of times. He didn't necessarily have the best numbers, but it was like, look who his teammates are. Look at the fact that he's the number one seed with freaking those guys on his team. And I think there's some of that going. I mean, I think that's why people would vote for Dak, but also I think the biggest reason people would vote for Dak is he's on the Cowboys. They have one win on national television, and all of a sudden his odds skyrocket. What is it with the Cowboys? Why are they
Well,
America's team?
I mean, they, because of Roger Staubach and they're, when did most people in, let's say, their, 40, 50s, let's say, start becoming fans of the league? It's in the 70s. So
Yeah.
it's the same reason the Steelers are an incredible outfit. I mean, the Packers are an iconic franchise because of their success in the 60s. When the sport exploded on television, teams like Green
Cowboys.
Bay and Dallas and
Yeah.
Pittsburgh were at the forefront. But back to Dak versus Brock, let's go back to their head-to-head. In their head-to-head, Brock went 17 of 24, 4 touchdowns, no picks, and a 144.4 rating.
Is that really the criteria, though? Because Brock gets to face the Dallas defense and Dak has to face the Niners defense. It's not like they face each other. It's not tennis.
Right, but Dallas's defense has Micah Parsons and a lot of, Dallas has a pretty fearsome
not as good
defense.
as the Niners defense. But it's
but the 49ers defense also
looked.
The 49ers defense looked terrible against Minnesota, looked awful against Cincinnati. So it's the way you play the day you play. Dak
and 22 points against Minnesota, but yeah.
Dak against the Niners put up 10 and threw 3 picks and had a 51.6 quarterback rating. I mean, Brock's quarterback rating.
And he still has fewer picks than Brock somehow.
Yeah.
This year. Crazy.
He had 3.
It's going to be a good race. If you want to wager on this, go to BetUS. Use the link in the description. Receive 125% sign-up bonus. And if you win, you get your money in less than 24 hours, which is what's nice about BetUS. It's going to be a 2-guy race. I think Brock Purdy's going to win it, but you can never count out the Cowboy because the league is rigged. Did you know that? Okay. So Talanoa Funga went down. Jair Brown went in. He had kind of a rough game against the Eagles. He was freaking great. I thought he was really, really great against the Seahawks. And I have a hot take. He's better than Talanoa Funga. This guy is a legit playmaker. And he has upgraded the 49ers secondary. And next year it's going to be kind of cool to see what it looks like with both of them on the field. This guy is way rangier than Talanoa. He can get from center field to the sideline. That first play that was broken up by Travarius Ward was almost intercepted by Jair Brown. I don't think Talanoa Funga gets there. This guy's a huge addition to the defense. Sorry, I questioned him.
No question. And you know what? I agree with you that Jair's better than Hufanga. He hits harder. He's a better coverage player. He's a more forceful tackler. He's a more consistent tackler, but Talanoa has incredible instincts.
He's just better.
I think Talanoa is just the one. I think Jair is the better player. I really do. I was wondering if they could play together, but now I don't wonder that because when I watch Jair, it's clear to me, Grant, that he could play in the box or he can play coverage down the field.
Yeah.
He's got great instincts in coverage. He takes away the football. I think next year what you're going to see is they're going to move on from Gibson, and Hufanga's going to start at strong safety, and I think Brown's going to start at free safety.
I agree.
I love Brown. I think Brown's really confident too. The other thing he brings a swagger and a belief and a confidence that's off the charts. And I asked him yesterday. I said, you talked to Hufanga at all? And he's like, yeah, he's in my ear. He's giving me advice. I guess Talanoa gave Jair Brown some lucky beads, and he had the beads in his locker.
I have a friend who was adamant when the Niners drafted Jair Brown that he's the second coming of Ed Reed. And he was just like going on and on. He's like, look at the 40 times, look at the this is Ed Reed 2.0. And I'm not saying that Jair Brown is Ed Reed 2.0. But, man, he's around the ball a lot. He flies around. He hits hard. Ed Reed was a great player. If the Niners have someone in that mold, that would be really, really cool. I think he's really improved his defense. He should have had 2 picks in the last game. Fred Warner got one away from him.
I know. You know what Jair Brown is? I read this in the Dane Brugler scouting report before the draft. He's the New Jersey leader in steals. In career steals in basketball.
Wow.
He's like, he blew out the record and he owns the career record for steals. Now, what do you need? You watch basketball. Really what do you need to steal the ball in basketball? You need to have anticipation and quickness, and you've got to have a little gambler's mentality, and you got to be competitive, and your first and second step have to be true and quick. He's got it. He's got it. So we're seeing it. There's two things that translate from college to the pros: sacks and picks. And this guy picked the ball off a ton at Penn State, and he's doing it again in the NFL. I mean, I think he's really, really good. I really do. I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be one. He's going to be a 10-year starter back there. I really believe that.
Yeah, he'll be better next year. He'll be bigger. The Japanese 49ers fan says Purdy is the most valuable player in the league by definition, considering his contract. That is true.
Well, there's that too.
That is true. I like that. Wesley Brooks says, why is no one talking about Fred Warner as Defensive Player of the Year?
That's a great question.
Check it out on BetUS right now. Defensive Player of the Year.
Check that out. I mean, and Myles Garrett's had a huge year, and let's be totally honest. We put more on sacking the quarterback, and Fred Warner
not even on the board.
He's not. Who is on the board? Myles Garrett.
It's not even on the board. It's Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett. It's coming down to those two guys. TJ Watt's got an outside chance, and no one else is in the conversation.
It's a great point by Wesley, though.
I don't know the question, Wesley.
It's a great question. You know why it's a great question? Because Fred Warner, the game is about coverage now, but the game's a passing game. And this guy's the best. Yeah. I don't know. You've been watching ball a long time, too. I think he's the best coverage linebacker I've ever seen. I think he makes plays in coverage that are fantastic. But we don't respect coverage or value coverage. We value going forward, not backward.
It's also zone coverage, which people don't quite know how to appreciate. Like, he's not lining up, shadowing receivers man-to-man, but the way he sort of plays center, like short, he's like the shortstop. You just can't throw it around him. He's huge. He's 6'3". He's got great anticipation. He just takes away the middle of the field in a way I've never seen anyone do it. What a weapon. Marty Doberman, thank you for being a member for so long. Brother Bob, not a fan of you. Iglet agreed, just win the damn Super Bowl, nothing less. Credit.
Brother Bob is
Official
not a fan.
Music 88 says, hate to see him get slighted all the time because I feel like he's such a good talent, such a good quarterback. He's the main reason why we were playing so well. Trent Williams last year on Jimmy. Hollow words. Yeah, Trent just says stuff that sounds good. I love Trent. Zaid, thank you. Moonman, Grant, Mr. Media, and Larry lives one of the best show. I can't read. Thank you, though. Moises Rosales says Larry's been preaching Purdy since 2022 training camp. Insane. Major props. Agree. So crazy the series of events that needed to happen to get us here. So crazy. Randall says Dak gets to run his MVP numbers up against poop teams. Hey, wait a second. Both the Niners and the Cowboys play in the NFC. The NFC is poop. There are 5 teams above 500 in the NFC. Did you know that? There's 11 in the AFC. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know
that.
What
a poop conference. Poop. It's a clinical term.
I mean, hey, let's be honest.
Zaid,
Cowboys.
Wisnowski averaging 30. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say the Cowboys haven't. They really are a bully team, Grant. When they get it up against these bad teams, they destroy them. Philly literally is the first really good team that they've played all year that they've beaten, and I don't know how good Philly is right now, this moment.
Yeah, I agree. I still feel like I'm not taking Dallas seriously, but I feel like they'd beat Pittsburgh and Jacksonville too. I don't know. I don't think those teams are that good. Elite Archer says Kyle being a liability is more of a story than Brock Purdy. Yeah, Kyle's the one with the skeletons in the closet. Rev Russ says Niners have the best roster in the NFL, and they still have over $40 million in cap space. John Lynch for MVP. Hey, I'm with it. Only guy I ever seen tackle better than Fred is Patrick Willis. This is Matthew Sanders. I think Dre Greenlaw.
Patrick Willis.
Hot take. All right, look at the defensive line. Javon Hargrave down. Eric Armstead down. What do the Niners got left?
Well, I mean, it's funny. I talked to Chase Young after the game, and he said he's never played on a line on the same side of the line with Bosa. But yesterday, Grant, the Niners went Gregory and Bosa outside, and they went Chase Young and Hargrave inside. So kind of like almost like a, kind of a version of their NASCAR look. So that foursome either got home or nearly got home on almost every single time they were on the field. But to me, Givens is playing well. Kalia's got some talent, and Kinlaw has stepped it up. I mean, I thought Javon Kinlaw in the last 2 games has been active against the run. He's playing with a bended knee. He's getting penetration, the motor, the strength. He's not coming up out of his stance and losing leverage. He's staying low, and he's playing the best ball of his career right now.
I don't think it should be surprising about Javon Kinlaw. Like, he's too talented, and so is Chris Kasarik. It was going to happen eventually as long as Javon Kinlaw could go to practice every day and practice fully, which his knee wouldn't let him do for 3 years. Finally, he could do it, and he's been doing it since minicamp. He's had no setbacks. Practice fully every day. It's been like 6 months or more, and he's too good. Too good of an athlete. Chris Kasarik's too good of a coach. The improvement was going to come. He never had the opportunity to actually improve. Now he has it. It's a great story.
It is a great story. It's amazing to me, Grant, that this year, for the first time, he's been able to stay injury free and play with leverage. Here's my question. Is it assumed that he's moving on at the end of the year? Or can the 49ers, even though they didn't pick up the 5th-year option, still bring him back? Because when you talk to Javon, the one thing that's really clear is that he loves Eric Armstead. And I don't mean loves like, hey, they're teammates or they're line mates. He looks up to him almost like he even told me the other day in the locker room. He's like almost like a second dad. He's like a fatherly figure to me. So I think that if the Niners want to bring him back, now he might get paid because he's playing well. But I think, he would love to stay on the line with Armstead. Those guys are going to be lifelong friends.
I could see him signing a 1 or 2 year deal with the Niners because I don't think he's maybe. Hey, look, there's another 5 games left, 4 games left, plus the playoffs. He could go crazy, and he could get himself a big multi-year contract. In which case, Eric Armstead will send him postcards, and they'll be friends.
Right,
they'll be pen pals. It'll be okay. But if that doesn't happen, and he plays well, but not so well that another team is going to poach him, I could see the Niners bringing him back and say, look, we know you. You know us. We can't give you exactly what you want, but we've given you a lot of money, and you're starting to make progress here. Do you really need to change the scenery, or do you need another year with us and Chris Kasarik? Because if you have another healthy year and you go crazy next year, you might just get a whole lot of money from us or somewhere else. I could see them doing it one more, having, the last dance.
Aaron Banks told me that yesterday after the game, he's like, man, I go up against this guy in practice, and the strength is unbelievable. So, Banks is a big boy in his own right? He's about 325 and naturally strong. And he just says that, Kinlaw's strength is just like he doesn't go up against guys in the league that are that strong. So this is a huge moment in his career because Eric's out. Not going to play next week, probably. Now Hargrave's out. And they're going to lean on Javon and Givens and Kalia. And if these guys perform down the stretch, you know the way it is in free agency. If you're a big defensive tackle who can play, you're going to get paid. So your guess is probably right. If he plays well, somebody's going to throw money in front of him that's going to probably mean that he's going to bolt.
Also, he could be a Super Bowl champion in 2 months. That's another thing that could put a lot of money in these players' pockets. I don't know what it is, but in sports, a lot of times when someone wins a championship, they're looked at as like they have championship pedigree. Let's bring him in here. It'll change the culture. Like, I don't know. Maybe you will. Remember when the Warriors signed Derek Fisher? Like, I don't think that's going to do anything for you, but I'm not comparing Javon Kinlaw to Derek Fisher. I'm saying he's going to have he could have a really big thing on his resume in a few months, and he could see himself, whether or not it contributes to his bank account, he could see himself as a contributor on a Super Bowl winning team. That's huge. And like, what a good end potentially to his tenure with the 49ers. Like, it wasn't all for nothing. It was extremely painful and difficult, but it ends with him hoisting a Lombardi trophy and feeling like he helped bring it home. That would be huge.
He's in the right frame of mind. That's for sure. And Kasarik has been a great coach. I mean, come on, Kasarik's one of the best coaches in the game. And they've been, and he's been able to stay healthy and play with that bended knee and play with leverage. The guy plays with leverage. He's pretty hard to uproot out of there. But what I love about him is that he's playing really smart football. Like, you can't, it's not like he's anchoring inside, but then he's coming off of blocks against the run the last couple of weeks. He did it in Philly, he did it again yesterday, where he came off a block and made some plays against the run, and that's great to see.
Yeah, it's not like he's Solomon Thomas, who's just a bust. Like Solomon Thomas was healthy and didn't have a position. He's too small to play defensive tackle, was not an edge rusher. Kinlaw is a prototypical defensive tackle. He just was a bit of a project and had some injuries. So he's in year 4 and it's coming together for him. I mean, it took Eric Armstead a while too, if you remember. He was not looked at as a big success early in his career. Got injured a lot. And all of a sudden, right when it was time to get paid, Eric Armstead took off and got paid by the 49ers. So, Javon, now's the time.
That's a great point about the Armstead thing. I don't think people necessarily – everybody's got revisionist history. He came out of Oregon. He was 6'7", 295, talented, but he didn't anchor against the run. Now he's a functionally strong, technically sound monster against the run and pass. I mean, Eric Armstead is
Saleh moved him to D end. Saleh moved him to D end. We're like, I don't know about you. And then D'Amico was like, hey, that's over with.
Right.
You're at Buckner's spot. Thank you very much.
Right.
Jack says Brock is second in passing yards, second in TDs. Dak passed the ball 100 more times. That's a good point. It's true.
That is a good point.
Beatman Petey Boy donates $9. Vinny Boy, member for 27 months. Wow. Conehead member for 20 from the start. That's what's up. Dustin the Gale says one thing people aren't talking about: Metcalf body slammed Warner and was getting flagged for it before Warner shoved him down. Metcalf shot first. Okay.
Did you see the Mike Silver? Did you see the Mike Silver piece? He says that Shanahan reportedly promised a Christmas present to any 49er who could get under DK Metcalf's skin.
Well, Fred Warner. Presser QC here. What the hell was that 3-minute presser B beta? What 3-minute presser? What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Larry, who's got it better than us? Says Hound 594. Gregorius Greg, member for 24 months.
Look at that.
Beatman Petey Boy says, shout out to you, Krueger, and a big up to my boy Iggy. We still hitting that Fernando in SC. Let's go, Kinlaw and Deebo. Let's go, Kinlaw and Deebo. Frank Tom says, Grant, were you joking with BP about the hat? Yeah, obviously. You didn't realize that was a joke.
I was sitting right next to you when you asked the question, and to me, your tone was so obvious you were joking, and the number of people that thought you weren't joking, it's like, hello, people.
I wanted Brock to think I was serious when do you think representing the organization well?
Right.
It'll look like, where is this idiot going with this? Matthew Sanders says, fast forward a few weeks, can D-line play Baltimore the same way as Philly? Send 4 and force them to play quarterback at a spy. I'm not a believer in Lamar's ability to throw. It's a lot quicker than Hurts, though. The Niners made it clear, like, if he has to back out and go out of the pocket the back way, he's not fast enough to do it. I think Lamar is. Kyler is. So they may have to have a different game plan for those quarterbacks. Well, you skipped over my last super chat. It was very important. Oh, my bad, Zaid. Let me go back right now.
By the way, Lamar went for 70 yesterday on the ground, and he ran for 6.4 a carry, and he ran 11 times.
He's a damn good player.
Yeah, Lamar is he's not a runner like Hurts. He's not a runner like many mobile quarterbacks. He's a major runner. He threw for 316 and can run for 100 at almost any point.
He's the most explosive ball carrier in the league. I don't care. If there's one person with the ball in their hands I want to watch run, it's him. I think.
That kid that he hands it to, by the way, that rookie out of East Carolina, Keaton Mitchell, he's real too. He averaged over 6 yards a carry yesterday.
Zaid points out that Mitch Wishnowski's averaging 30 yards a carry. They got to get him the ball. Grant, please ask Larry to do his Balky impression.
Grant, I've always said, and I said it about you. I've said it about your pops. Neither of you guys have an ACL worth a damn. And if you had torn it, I would have said your channel would reach 80,000 subs. But right now, without a torn ACL, you're gonna hover around 73,000. That's the way I see it.
Hey, if you guys ever go on live with Matt Mayoko, he can do it too. There's a lot of people who do Balky impressions. Trent. All right. Deebo Samuel has really kind of emerged as like the best player on this team in the last few weeks. All of a sudden, he's playing better than ever. And in addition, he's the kick returner now. And a lot of times players this good aren't asked to be kick returners or whatever, but he is. And he can get the ball 8 yards deep in the end zone. He's coming out. And frankly, I like it. I like it a lot. What do you think of this?
I love it. Shanahan just said in the presser that it isn't even predicated on Ray McLeod and his health at all. That it's just something they wanted to do. I'll say this: Deebo is
keep going.
Yeah, Deebo as a route runner, he's pretty good, but he's not like the greatest route runner. There are better route runners. Deebo's hands, they're good, but they're not like super special. Where he is super special is when he gets 3 steps of momentum. When the guy's got 3 steps of momentum with the ball in his hands, it's like nobody wants to stand in front of that guy. I actually kind of thought that his return in Philly was one of the key plays when he carried it out to the 23-yard line and the Niners scored, I think, on that drive. He just gives the 49ers confidence, swagger, and I like him more as a runner. To me, if I were the offensive coordinator for the Niners, I'd give Deebo the ball in those end arounds at least 2 times a game, maybe more like 3 or 4. I love him with the ball. I love him as a running back. I love him more as a runner than I love him as a receiver.
But I think what makes Deebo so cool, like as opposed to Christian McCaffrey, they're similar, but they're like different ends of the yin and yang. Because McCaffrey is a complete running back who can do certain things as a receiver. He can run certain routes, Texas routes, option routes, slants. You can put him in the slot. He can run choice route. But he can't do what Deebo did to Jamal Adams. He can't run a deep over and fly by a DB for a 60-yard touchdown. He can't. And to me, for like these hybrid players, he's the only one who can do something like that. And that's why he makes $24 million a year. It's like, yeah, the jet sweeps and that stuff is nice, but if you don't respect him, he will run right by you for a long touchdown. Makes him unique. He makes him a legit wide receiver. Like, he can run deep. And he's not the best route runner, but it didn't matter on that play, did it? You can get him open, put him in a bunch formation, you can get him a free release, and then he's murder on your defense.
Let's also mention one other thing. The 49ers may have won a freaking Super Bowl by now if they had just given him the ball in the second half against Miami. At halftime, that guy was the MVP of the Super Bowl. He had like 8 touches and all kinds of big plays. He touched it twice in the second half. If they get into a big game, do not forget about Deebo Samuel.
Also, of all the Niners' weapons, he's the most dangerous when he's at his best. And he's also the most inconsistent. Like, he could be their best weapon or their worst on a given day, depending on whatever. So I like the idea of having him be the kick returner because it gets him engaged in the game. Like, the game starts with you, man. It's all about you. You get the first touch, which is how it should be. Set the tone. You set the tone coming out with the boombox. You set the tone in the huddle. Set the tone on special teams. Like, people always say, "Oh, you don't want to get your guy hurt on special teams." Man, the way he plays wide receiver, he could get hurt. I'm not worried about that. He could get hurt anytime he touches the ball. I feel like you're letting the other team off the hook, not giving it to him. If you're going to put Ray McLeod back there, he's just going to fair catch everything. Everything's going to be out with 25. Got to do this. They should have done this earlier. I love it.
He delivers more punishment than he takes too. I mean, he is, I think, the source of the Niners' swagger. Because when he comes out, I mean, think about it. He puts the hit on you, and when was the last time you saw him get really starched? Where it's like, oh, suddenly he's kind of, or the ball pop out because of somebody else hits him hard. He delivers the pain.
Yeah. Nathan Flores says Deebo has been saying these last few weeks, that's my end zone, punk. NorCal Refrigeration and HVAC says, what time is the Cohn zone tomorrow? Either 11 or 12. To see how my dad feels, if he slept well. David E. says, so, Grant, apparently you're no longer are concerned about Purdy's turnovers, assuming you won't ask Kyle why he's not benching Purdy again. Didn't I ask if he was considering benching Purdy? Considering. Just want to point that out. And
why would
I
I
am
do
concerned
that?
about turnovers. I am concerned about turnovers. Let's see what happens. Matthew Sanchez agreed about 19, but Bell is a liability. What the hell?
He makes me nervous,
like
Grant.
But yeah,
I like him too, but he makes me nervous.
Fish and Chip says we'll be listening to pressers, especially LK. It's time to keep searching The searching questions going. No nicknames. Kyle had a 3-minute presser last week. Oh, on Friday? He has short ones on Friday. Sorry.
That was you know what? I went through that twice. I was like, wait a second. Did I not get this all? Did he really only talk for
Their
3
PR
minutes and
director
28
came up to me
seconds?
on the sideline and was like, you can ask one question. Like, everyone was allowed to ask one question. Like, I don't know if they're allowed to do that, but they're like, you ask one question today. I'm like, okay. I don't know. I think Kyle wants to get in and out. All right. Let's look at the playoff picture. All of a sudden, the Niners are the number 1 seed. If they win out, they get a bye week, home games. I save money. You save money. It'd be wonderful. How is this shaping up?
Well, Niners are the 1 seed right now. Philly fell to the 5. So, the way it goes right now, it goes Niners 1, Dallas 2, Detroit 3, Tampa 4, Philly 5, Minnesota 6, Green Bay 7. So if the season ended, the Niners would get the bye. And then the question is, Green Bay would get Dallas. Is there any chance that Green Bay could beat Dallas? A lot of people think that Green Bay is kind of a sleeper team, Grant. We're going to find out. They're definitely playing better ball. And then Vikings would get Detroit. And then Eagles would get Tampa. And Tampa would host Eagles in Tampa.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think Eagles would beat Tampa. I think Detroit would beat the Vikings. And then I just don't know about Green Bay and Dallas. I think Dallas would probably beat Green Bay, but I wouldn't put it past Green Bay to get the win there. But either way, if Green Bay doesn't beat Dallas, then it's very likely, and everything goes according to form, the Niners' first-round playoff game would be against the Eagles, and the Cowboys would get the Lions, and the winner would be at Levi's if the Niners win to determine who goes to the bowl. So it could be Niners Eagles, then Niners Cowboys, but that bye week is essential, man. You got to have that bye week. You got to have that rest.
I just don't think the NFC playoffs matter. I think the Niners are going to be the number 1 seed. They're going to cruise. I'm more interested. I'm going all the way ahead to the Super Bowl. Yeah, I just don't think the NFC is good. The Dallas isn't good. I don't think they're that good. I don't think Philly's good at all. I don't think Detroit's good at all.
Detroit just lost to the Bears. Well, you're not missing anybody. It's Niners, Cowboys, Lions, Eagles. Packers. Packers are the wild card in the NFC. Packers.
Yeah. And the Vikings beat the Niners. And if Kirk Cousins were still healthy, maybe they'd have a chance. Because Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison are quite a pair of wide receivers. But when the Niners are in the Super Bowl, I'm more interested because they're 2-2 against the AFC. The AFC is a much tougher conference. And Cincinnati isn't even in the play. How would they match up with Buffalo? How would they match up with Cincinnati and Jake Browning? How would they match up with Kansas City? Think about Kansas City. They're not as good as they were last year, but that's one team in the NFL that is absolutely not intimidated by the 49ers. Not at all.
There's something wrong with Kansas City, though, isn't there?
No doubt.
There's
something wrong with every team except the Niners.
If you said to me, wager today on a Super Bowl matchup, I'm taking Niners-Dolphins.
I would like that.
I think it would be a great show, but I'm taking Niners-Dolphins. Yeah. I've been watching that in-season Hard Knocks, and Mike McDaniels has some momentum going right now.
Yeah. And that defense is coming around. They got Jalen Ramsey, Vic Fangio.
Yeah. That's a good. I forgot about Fangio, but yeah, their defense is coming around. They're getting a little healthier. McDaniels got a bevy of great weapons. They're good.
Yeah. What an interesting Super Bowl week that would be. McDaniel and Shanahan taking turns at the podium, taking little shots at each other, pretending they're friends. I would love that.
Yeah.
That would be a lot of fun. Muncherificus says Ravens game will tell all with the number 1 seed. Sure. That's going to be an interesting game. Anything else you want to talk about before we go? We got the game in 12 minutes.
Yeah. Let's see. I did have one other thing. Well, yeah. Let me see. The Verret. What's your deal on Verret? They talked about Verret, then they didn't sign him, and then Mooney played 2 snaps, pointed to his groin, came out. Is Verret signed today because Mooney's seriously hurt and they're not going to tell us? What's your guess on?
Went through my head, right? They happened the same day. Ward goes down, Verret gets signed. So it's possible the Niners offered Verret whatever, X amount of dollars. And Verret said, no, that's disrespectful. And that's why it took a month. And then suddenly Ward goes down and the Niners say, all right, we'll double it. Is that possible? All right, man. Here's a bonus.
I don't know.
I don't know. I would think maybe. All right, dude. Good point. Here's an extra $8. Come to the team.
I'll say this, man. It's December. You cannot invent corners. And when anybody that can play corner that's worth a damn, you gotta get. The other question I would have is what's going to happen with Ertz? Do you want Ertz?
Yeah, I'm sure they do too at a price. I'm sure they're looking at Ertz as someone that they would give like maybe 2 or 3 targets to a game. Maybe. I mean, would they give Ertz more targets than Juszczyk? Like Ertz is someone they may not even use. So
Kittle insurance, maybe Kittle insurance, Grant.
Yeah, insurance. But I imagine the offer they would give him would be very like basically, we can't pay you money per se, but you could get a ring. What do you say? And I don't know where's Zach. I mean, if he wanted that, he'd be here. I bet you there's an offer on the table for Zach, and it's disrespectful or underwhelming. And you know what? He might take it in a week or two.
You know what's interesting too, Grant, is that I think Ertz at this point's all about the ring, and he might just be sitting back handicapping the Super Bowl race. And if that's the case, he may just come to the Niners for whatever price. He just wants to wait as long as he can wait.
Yeah.
Who do you got tonight, by the way? I'm going Dolphins and Packers on the teaser. So that means I got Packers plus a point, and I got Dolphins -6. Who do you got?
I like that. I like that. I don't know how teasers work, but I think that's a smart way to do it. I'm just interested to see what the Dolphins have because I'm still trying to look around the league. Like, can any team challenge the 49ers? I don't think any team in the NFC can. We're supposed to take Dallas seriously. We've seen Dallas try against. Dallas seems like intimidated by the 49ers. I would have to say.
Dallas cannot have confidence against the Niners.
No.
We got a couple more supers too.
Super chats. All right, cool. We'll get those. Niners, Finns would prove who the geniuses is for show. For show.
Seriously.
Fish and chips. LK going to reach out to MDJ before Rams again. UK fave. Love MDJ.
Oh yeah.
Us out.
Seriously. Yeah, no, Maurice Jones-Drew is a really good dude.
Real quick, is Mahomes being a crybaby? It's a bad look from the Chiefs yesterday.
Bad look.
It's like they got it right.
Dude, the guy was offsides.
I don't know what you want to say.
The guy was offsides.
They got it right. So
hey,
whatever, you got to be quiet with don't call it. Why? Because you're the Super Bowl champions. Get onside. How about that?
One last one before we jet. Thank you, bro.
Suki Suki
I was going to say thank.
Grant, my girlfriend says you have a nice sweater on. Suki Pazuki. Thank you.
It's almost like a Cosby sweater. It's a Cosby sweater.
A Cosby sweater.
You got to be old school for Cosby sweater references. Hey, I just want to say thank you, bro, because you helped me when I was at my lowest point, and this weekend, with the help of you, my son, and others, and of course the audience, the Krug Show eclipsed 30,000 subs, and I didn't think we could get there this soon. I had set a 30,000 goal going into the year for the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is still 2 months away. We got to 30,000 subs 2 months ahead of time, and I just want to say thanks, bro, because I appreciate you, and I got a bottle of wine for you and Pop sitting right here, and I'll bring it this week down to Santa Clara.
Congratulations, man. I'm really proud of you. It feels like years ago when we sat down at Gott's Roadside in Walnut Creek.
That's right.
Mapped it out. It feels like years ago. So, hey, salute, Larry. Thank you very much, everyone, for subscribing to Larry, subscribing to me, and watching the show, donating. Larry's probably working again at some point tonight.
No, tonight, no more tonight. I'm taking the rest of the night off. I maybe do a couple videos, but no more live streams for the night. But lots of stuff coming out of Santa Clara Wednesday, Thursday. We're just getting this thing revved up, as you know.
Enjoy the game. I'll see you guys tomorrow with my Pops. Take care.